Reporter Nickolaus Bauer, also in Senekal, joining us now. Nicholas, what's happening on your end?
Well, I'm not too sure if you can hear me, studio, but we are just on the other side of the EFF march here. We're aligned
Just to reiterate what sparked this off, the Senekal court is just in this direction, about 400 meters, and the Boer contingent of protesters were attempting to leave when a stream of EFF members walked down this road and prevented them from doing so, and a brief skirmish ensued. A lot of the protesters here, the Boer contingent of protesters is what we are calling them, have been reluctant to speak to the media, but let's see whether or not we can speak to one or two of them and see whether or not they're willing to engage. Gentlemen, are you willing to chat to us about what's happening? No? Anybody? Are you willing to chat to us, sir?
Do you have any questions?
Well, what exactly led to the standoff with the EFF?
Okay, so should I hold it?
No,
Okay.
you're live on Newzroom Afrika.
Okay. So the basic story of what happened. A week ago, there was a farm murder.
No, we understand. We understand the brutal murder of Brendan Horner. If you could just basically try and explain to us what led to the clash between the EFF and the line of the EFF here and these Boer protesters that, from my understanding, attempted to leave.
Yes, we did attempt to leave because we felt the point we wanted to make has been made. Do I need to clarify why the EFF and we are here? Do you understand that?
Well, look, the point I'm trying to get to here is that the EFF has said that they were provoked, and essentially that's what's led to the clash here. But what's your version of events?
Okay, well, my version of what happened after the protests by the Boers, or by us, I don't like that word, but after the protests here where we stormed into the Hof and things like that, their leader Julius, he wanted to take matters into their own hands because, in his opinion, the police didn't act accordingly, and that's why they're here today. They are here today to challenge us. We are here to protest peacefully against farm murders, and they are here today to protest against us who are protesting peacefully against farm murders. So what does that make them?
So, sir, I don't know if I can draw attention to the fact that both the EFF and Julius Malema, as well as the farmers here today, have said that nobody is here prepared for war, but if it means that there needs to be a clash and a civil war, let it be. I mean, do you not see the conflict in that, in people saying that, well, if matters turn to conflict, we're ready to fight?
Okay, did Julius say that, the EFF?
Both Julius Malema of the EFF and indeed one of these former SANDF members said so as well, saying that war is not what you guys have come for, but if it leads to that, you're prepared.
Well, I don't know exactly what they mean by they are prepared. A civil war now is not what anyone wants, but the way I see it, if you look at the facts, when we came in today, there was a roadblock, they looked for weapons, they confiscated them. To my knowledge, they didn't find any at the Boers. They confiscated AK-47s out of the bus of the EFF. So
where did you hear that?
Well, I heard.
Did you see it happen?
I actually have seen a photo of one climbing out with an AK-47 out of the bus. So you're asking me if it's fact? I don't know.
Just wondering.
I don't have no facts. I don't have any facts. That's only what people say, what I've heard. But if you look at that contrast, why did they bring AKs? What was their intention?
So you tell me, what's the best case scenario here? How do you see this matter being resolved in the short term and in the long term? Because what we have at the moment is a group of EFF supporters here preventing you all from leaving. So how do you see this being resolved in the short term?
Okay, well, you asked what's the best case scenario. This is the best case scenario for me. Because the way this protest was organized is we had our allocated position and they had theirs. But they broke that agreement, or whatever you want to call it, to come here. So my best case scenario in this is to show that we protested peacefully. We didn't swear at anyone. We didn't point fingers. We're not here with any weapon. Okay, well, that guy's here with his walking stick, but that's something else. He's there with a baseball bat.
Yeah, but look, I mean, at the end of the day, there are a fair amount of farmers here that are armed. I've seen the handguns strapped to their waists.
Yeah, it's the Section 14 self-defense guns. You can't register an AK-47 as a self-defense gun. He's not carrying that for his personal safety. He's carrying that to hurt someone.
Okay, so lastly, sir, and then I'll of course ask your name so that you can introduce yourself to the people of South Africa on Newzroom Afrika. This standoff that took place when the EFF prevented this group of Boers from leaving saw stones being lobbed by the EFF supporters at the Boers and people on bikes, and stones being thrown back. And I mean, there was a very, very, very brief sort of skirmish between the Boers and the EFF. Do you not think that violence is definitely not the way to solve this?
Oh, 100% violence is not the way to solve it, but many people resolve to it. And they threw stones. Well, it's what they do usually. But the question, like what you wanted to ask me, is violence the answer? No, I don't think anyone here thinks violence is the answer. That's not what we're here for. I don't know their intentions though.
Are you a farmer?
I'm a son of a farmer.
Okay. Your name?
Carl Schutter.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Schutter. So there we have it. Much appreciated. Sir, would you like to add anything to that? I mean, your thoughts on your attempt to leave?
I am not.
If you could just look at the camera, sir.
I'm on.
Okay, it seems as though there was a little bit of. He's looking for someone better versed in the English language. But as we march towards the EFF line here, are you willing to give us a comment?
I am not very fluent in English.
Praat maar Afrikaans as jy wil.
Nou my volk, kom sê jy nie so nie. Nee, weet jy wat gebeur hier? Wat het verlede week gebeur? 26 jaar, van 1994 af, gee ons vir hierdie ANC 'n kans in hierdie land om die land te regeer. Vir 26.
Okay, sir, if I could just stop quickly and just translate, sir. The gentleman here, if I could just get your name, sir.
Frans Pietersen.
Frans Pietersen says the Afrikaans community has given the ANC 26 years opportunity to try and govern South Africa. Gaan verder, meneer.
En elke dag hoor ons, van Malema af, van meneer Ramaphosa af, hoor ons, die boere het die grond gesteel. Daar moet grondhervorming kom. Gedurig word vir hierdie EFF, hierdie mense gesê, die blanke is onregmatig hier.
Okay, hou net 'n bietjie aan. Every day the Afrikaans people have been hearing from the likes of Julius Malema and Cyril Ramaphosa that there should be land reform and that the land was stolen and that essentially white people are illegally here. Before you go any further, I'll ask in English and then by all means answer in Afrikaans. South Africa was a colonized country. There was a moment in South Africa's history that was extremely brutal, that saw land being taken away from indigenous people in South Africa. So I understand the pain and fear that Afrikaans people are facing when things get spoken about like land reform, and farm murders are extremely brutal and indeed violent. But do you not see the necessity for land reform and the necessity to bring about equity in South African society, even though there's been 26 years since democracy came?
Vir 26 jaar het ons gehou aan die wette van hierdie land. Ons wil ons nou nog hou aan die wette van hierdie land. Maar die land, die akker, the land in Afrikaans word voorberei vir mense om ons te kom aanval. Want daar word vir ons sê, hoekom koop die regering nie grond en gee dit vir die mense nie? Nou hou hulle net aan retoriek aan mekaar, die blankes het die grond gesteel, die blankes het die grond gesteel. Doen iets aan dit, koop die grond, sê vir die wit man gee pad. Maar as dit op hierdie manier aanhou, dan sien ons het nie 'n plek meer in hierdie land nie. Dan wil ons 'n grensdraad hê. Dan sê ons eie volk, eie land. As julle dan nie met ons wil saamwerk nie, laat ons een kant gaan op ons eie. Maar ons wil nie 'n geveg hê nie. Ons verdedig net ons.
Let me try and translate that a little bit. Sir, thank you very much for your time in Newzroom Afrika. Essentially, the punchline there is that for many, many years, the ANC and government's been given the opportunity to bring about positive land reform, and the scene is being set for white people to essentially be painted the victims of any process that will bring about equitable land reform and indeed equity in South African society as well. And what he's calling for is essentially a government to recognize that they need to take the lead in responsible and sustainable land reform, because white people believe that or at least these white people believe that they no longer have a place in democratic South Africa.
Nickolaus, of course, this raises a lot of issues and a lot of aspects of the Senekal farm murder case, where issues like racism, like political rhetoric, like land reform come out very strongly here as we try and make sense of what exactly is transpiring and triggering the farm murders and the attacks and the crimes that are happening across farms, affecting both farmers and farm workers. Now, your guest earlier on spoke about some serious allegations, speaking about the weapons that have been seen there, saying that an AK-47 was found within an EFF bus. And I know that you were at that roadblock. Let's talk a little bit about the manner in which farmers have been armed during this process.
Well, look, I can't comment directly on that allegation because I saw nothing of the sort when I was stopped at that roadblock. There were several EFF buses that were stopped. They were told to leave the bus. They were searched. It's the first time that I heard that an AK-47 was removed from the possession of an EFF supporter or EFF bus. And yes, indeed, there has been farmers that have been armed here at what they deem to be a peaceful protest. When I questioned, I guess, a little bit earlier about the fact that there are a lot of farmers that are armed, he said that everybody here is a legal firearm owner. And I often wonder, I mean, the point at the end of the day of guns in any way, shape or form, legal or illegal, just for me connotes violence, but that's a story for another day. The bottom line is, the issues around land reform, the issues around rural safety is not going to be solved on the streets of Senekal in intense confrontation between two conflicting political ideologies. And we're seeing this EFF line of protest now slowly dissipating away as they, I'm supposing, prepare for the address of Julius Malema outside the Senekal Magistrates Court. And it was here where it was very, very, very close to a clash between the EFF and these Boer protesters over here. Stones were being thrown just across this little patch of road right here, and it was very, very close to a clash. And to be quite honest, I'm quite surprised that the police were able to defuse the situation as quickly as they did and keep tensions at least contained to the point that we may see these Boer protesters leave, the ones that have arrived here on their bikes and their bakkies.